All right, so we're going to talk all about legacy. So human literature, from the beginning of human literature at least, has featured stories of immortality. And that goes back to the very beginning with the Epic of Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh, at some point during the epic, his best friend dies, and then he suddenly gets really scared of death and goes out on a journey to try to figure out the secrets of immortality. This was largely considered the first work of human literature, of fiction literature. But that theme continues today with elves, vampires, he who shall not be named, etc. And outside of fictional literature, we have items such as the Fountain of Youth, the Holy Grail, the Philosopher's Stone, all these things that are supposed to bestow or allow us to achieve longer or eternal life. So maybe technology, being a technology conference, can get us there, right? Maybe through health and biotech, or maybe through like Ray Kurzweil style computer singularity, where we can upload our brains into the internet and then live forever, right? Perhaps. Kind of interesting. So setting aside biological and like your real like understanding of immortality, like the just my consciousness surviving forever, we can go back to a bit of philosophy. And so in Symposium, Diotima, via Socrates, via Plato, because women can't be the first reference, right? Aims to explain love, and in so doing, explains that mortal creatures like us love in part to seek immortality. Yes, through the creation of children and generational children, but also through the creation of things such as art or architecture, governments, ideas, software, maybe? So this is my Philosophy 101 level reading of Plato's Symposium. Don't at me. I thought this tweet was really interesting, and it feels like it gets to the heart of what I'm talking about here. And it reads, make friends who make things, because when you miss them, you can listen to, watch, read, play their things. And what that kind of means to me is that we live in and on through the things that we create. Okay, now think back to all of these cool hardware things up here, but also like, what's the oldest piece of hardware that you've used or that you use regularly? How about the oldest piece of software? Maybe like Unix or Vim, or Emacs is even older than in Vim or Vi. So what's that oldest thing in your head? What's the oldest thing that you've written that still gets used today? For some of us, maybe that's decades old, right? But for a lot of us, not, because of the way that software works. But if it is decades old, that's really awesome. But whatever the age of that thing that you're thinking of, like, it's dwarfed by the Acropolis or the idea of democracy or anything like that. So I'm curious, what does software look like in millennia, like thousands of years down the road? What does something I built today look like then? Software, as we practice it today, it feels like, to me, a modern-day ship of Theseus. So this legend goes, in very short, that Theseus and his crew, while sailing the Aegean Sea, rebuilt their ship board by board as it rotted away. And so the question is, when they landed in Athens, was that the same ship? Or somewhere along the way, is it a different ship? At what point is it a different ship? So when we are, when we're constantly iterating and changing software, and we're adding features, removing features, at what point does our software actually change, and at what point is it a different thing? The quote goes, "No man ever steps into the same river twice." The river's it's not the same river, and it's not the same man. But even as that artifact changes, the spirit remains. So I think maybe the idea is what is important, the structure, the goals of what we're building. So I suggest build something interesting, build something exciting to you, something that you feel is important. In terms of leaving a hardware legacy, perhaps the creators of Voyager 1 and 2 spacecraft have the most legacy here. They have ships that are sailing out into interstellar space. leaving a legacy for humanity. I think that's really exciting and interesting. They've left gold plates on those spacecraft that have images and sounds of humanity. By the way, here's a picture of us. That's exciting. That was taken by Voyager. This one by Cassini more recently. This picture is a group photo of all of us, by the way. Maybe some of the 4 or 5-year-olds aren't in there, because that was 2013. Either way, there's this another way that we can think about immortality, and that is what we're doing here this week, right? We're teaching, we're passing ideas to people, forming the minds of perhaps the next generation. There's a quote by Henry Brooks Adams that says, "A teacher affects eternity. She can never know where her influence stops." And I feel like that's true. Over the years, I've been to CodeMash many years, and I've met a lot of great teachers and learned a lot and have walked away really inspired to come up here to teach, to submit talks, and ultimately to hopefully influence future generations to come back and do the same thing. So if you're not speaking this week, then come back next time. Leave your own legacy. Thank you.